Hi, this is Stray Passer. Welcome to my review, spoilers review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the last installment in the James Gunn franchise of Marvel, Marvel going to space. And I really, truly enjoyed this movie. This movie is like, again, like I said in my spoilers free review, this movie is 3 hours long. Not 3 hours long, excuse me. It's 2 hours and 30 minutes long, but it doesn't drag to me. It's really enjoyable. And I love the characters, love everything. And this story, again, like I said in my spoilers free review, this movie is extra emotional. I know it was going to be emotional going in, but they really went deep with this. And the story is basically Rocket's backstory, voiced by Bradley Cooper. It's his backstory. We get to find out his origin, and they really made you feel for his character. I mean, the flashbacks with his character was just had me getting all emotional. How he was created and how him and his little animals friends that all were experimented on by a character called the High Evolutionary character. I know the character from the comic books, and this guy he was played by I don't want to butcher this guy's name, but it's played by Chuck Woody Iwagi. I think that he's the guy that was on Peacemaker. He was like the guy that was in charge of them, who was really the alien. He plays the High Evolutionary character, a really good villain because you really hate to love this character. His character was this complete a nut, a scientific nut who was basically experimenting on these animals that to try to improve them to basically create us like a pseudo another Earth with these creatures. He would basically take animals and basically experiment on them to try to advance their evolutionary DNA. Basically, is what he was doing. And when they were showing the flashbacks with Rocket, how he's created and stuff, and when he was little, and how how you could tell how intelligent he was, and how he had they kept him in a cage, obviously with other experiments that he was close to, and he had this little foursome of friends with him that was just that you really just sympathize with, and you really but you kind of knew because what was going to eventually happen, that those friends were going to eventually have basically die, because the High Evolutionary didn't care about anything. All he cared about was the science. He did not care about these creatures. He didn't care how many he had to make and how many died or whatever. He just kept plowing along and plowing along. And also in this movie is the character of Adam Warlock, who I think we saw briefly at the end of Volume 2, played by Will Poulter in this movie. And I really liked that character of Adam. Well, I always liked the character of Adam Warlock from the comic books, and I read it. And I liked the the character in this movie. They made him kind of funny, but he was basically like Superman. And there's a great opening scene in the beginning of the movie where he basically crash lands on the planet that that the Guardians live on. Basically looking for Rocket, and he's just like, you know, the Guardians are attacking him to prevent him from hurting Rocket, and he's basically he's basically doing Superman. He could fly, he has powers and all that stuff, and it's crazy. But I think Will Poulter was good. He's in the movie, but he's not in the movie as much as I kind of wanted him to be. I kind of thought when we saw him in the other movie that he was going to be in the movie a lot. He's going to be a lot more main character than he was. He's more of a supporting character in this movie, but I still enjoyed his character as well. And then, like I said, his usual Mantis. I love the actress who plays Mantis. I thought she's always hilarious. And of course, I love Batista who plays Drax, and of course Peter Quill, and of course he's still hurting over Gamora. Her dying in the Avengers movies, and then coming back from the past and not having no memory of their romance and stuff. So he's kind of depressed and all this stuff, but he kind of gets purpose when Rocket gets hurt, and they have to kind of find a way to, because he has this built-in like kill switch, so they can't really heal him the way he's supposed to be healed. So they have to look to basically find his creators, which is the High Evolutionary, and they have to go on a mission to find that technology so they can save their friend, save his best friend. And it's really heart wrenching and touching. Again, those flashbacks are just heartbreaking. And of course, Karen Gilliam is, I say Nubila, but it's not Nubila. I forgot the way they pronounce it. Nebula, I think, right? Nebula. I think that's how they pronounce her name. But Karen Gilliam, I thought, was hilarious in this. Ismail, because he has kind of a dry humor, dry. Her character has kind of dry humor in this, and of course we do get Gamora back here, the Gamora that has no memory of her and Peter Quill together and stuff, and played by Zoe Saldana. And I like the way that it kind of played. I know a lot of people, and in my heart of hearts, I kind of wish they did get back together, even though they didn't. But I did like their interaction in this movie because he's basically, Peter Quill. He still loves, he still loves her, because she is technically the woman he loves, even though she's a past version of that character. So she has no memory of their love. But the way they kind of resolve it by having her, having them be on a mission together, and at the end of it, where she says that she can see now why she fell in love, why she would fall in love with him. Okay, and then she goes off with the Ravagers and stuff, and Peter Quill, he goes to Earth to see, his grandfather. Uh, but this movie again had a lot of heart. Again, the Rocket stuff was just heartbreaking and just it just really broke your heart. He was just such a great character. You got, like I said, you got more in depth with him. Groot was Groot in this, but he had some good moments in there. But we didn't get that interaction as much between Groot and Rocket because like I said, Rocket for a large part of the movie was basically unconscious, and they were trying to find find that the cure to fix him. But his flashbacks and his story was simply heartbreaking. All those flashbacks to me were just, and boy, that the High Evolutionary character was a complete dick. I mean, really, you really want that character to go down. And again, I always love Mantis and Drax together. There's like they're a great comedy team together. And again, Nebula was thrown in there in the mix there too, and she was Karen Gillan was just great, as Nebula. And you kind of forget because her character looks totally different from obviously because of the makeup, but she plays her character. I really like her performance as Nebula. She's really good, and I like the way her and Gamora kind of greet each other. They just go grunt at each other, which I thought was hilarious. And again, I really enjoyed this version because again, like I said, these Guardians were doing everything they could. They were going to save their friend Rocket, no matter what it take. They did whatever they had to do to change, to save their friend. And his back again, like I said, his backstory was just basically heartbreaking, being used as a guinea pig, and being discarded, and having his friends killed, his friends that he bonded with. It's just there's a scene, there's that scene where they're in the cages, the four of them, and they're talking about seeing the sky and going off and living in the new world that they thought they were going to populate when this high evolutionary character had no intention of having them because they were to him they were failed experiments to him, and he was never going to put them on his new world, his new Earth. He was never going to put them on there anyway. So it's kind of heartbreaking to see how that played out. But again, kudos for James Gunn for making this story. And also, I forgot to say, Whatchcott was in this movie as well. Sylvester Stallone. He was like the leader of the Ravagers, the new leader of the Ravagers. Okay, so he had a little small part in here, and of course, again, Chris Pratt, his character Peter Quill. Again, I like that and he listened. He kind of took advice from Mantis, who everybody knew that he was still messed up behind Gamora dying and then her coming back and then just leaving. So he was still still messed up behind that, and they were all trying to cheer him up. And Mantis even gave him some advice about not pinning all his hopes on that one romance and going back to his family. They basically kind of encouraged him to go back, to see his his grandfather, who he after he left the earth, he never went back. So they kind of encouraged him to do that, and so he does do that at the end. At the end, the Guardians, split up at the end. Some go, Peter goes back to Earth. Gamora goes off with the Ravengers. Batista and Nebula, they stay and take care of all the new young children they got rescued from the High Evolutionary. And Mantis goes off on her own to kind of find herself. And then you kind of see at the end, in one of the after credit scenes, you see kind of a new Guardians team with Rocket being in charge. I think it's Rocket. What's his name? Geez. Rocket. Jeez, well, I'm drawing a blank. Uh, Rocket, this one of the young girls, and not Star Lord. I was gonna say what's his name? Will Poulter's character, not Star Lord. Uh, jeez, well, I'm drawing a blank on his name, on the character's name. Hold on, it'll come to me. Well, yeah, Adam Warlock. I'm sorry, it's Adam Warlock and Rocket and these two creatures. They're like kind of a new version of the Guardians and stuff. You see them go off on a mission and stuff. So I think the Guardians will begin, and they do say at the end of the movie that Star Lord will return. So I don't know if Chris Pratt is going to have a solo Star Lord movie. He may. I guess I'm assuming that's what that means. But I'm saying Star Lord will return. I'm assuming that either he's going to be in one of these Avengers movies. Maybe he'll be in the not Secret Wars, but in the Kang Dynasty. Maybe he'll be in that, or maybe he'll. I don't think they'll give him. I don't know if they're going to give him a solo movie, but I think he may be in the Kang Dynasty. Star Lord. Maybe they'll have to go get him and rescue, to help them fight and stuff. So they may do that. And also, special mention to Lydia Cardinale, who she's voicing the character of Lila. Lila. She's one of the creatures that Rocket is friends with in their cage and stuff, and she's kind of like his. I don't want to say his girlfriend, but she's one of the ones that when he gets first put in there, and she befriends him and stuff, and he's really close with her, and this is it's a heartbreaking moment when Rocket finds out that basically he's going to kill every one of them as failed experiments. A high evolutionary, he's been stealing pieces of like a card key, and then he frees all his friends, and he's saying we're going to leave here and we're going to fly and be free and all this stuff and see the sky and all that stuff. And then just when he's getting ready to leave, she gets killed by the high evolutionary. It's such a heartbreaking moment, and Rocket basically flips out and basically just and he's the kind of the reason why high evolutionary has that kind of messed up face because he basically went nuts and just went crazy on him before he escaped. And there's another great moment too when when it looks like he's dying, and he kind of has a heaven moment where he sees his old friends and stuff, but they tell him his story's not finished, and he has to go back, and then he of course comes back to life, and goes off and with the Guardians on that mission to stop the High Revolutionary. And again, this movie is just so emotional and really touching you in all the feels, and I just like the way it ended. And with the Guardians, they're all going their own separate ways and stuff, but you kind of have a feeling that that the characters will go on another mission together. I think eventually. I know even there's a new version of the Guardians, so you kind of hope, even though it's probably not likely because, like I said, James Gunn is over here with DC, and I think Batista doesn't want. I don't think Batista wants to be Drax anymore, and I don't think Zoe Saldana wants to be Gamora anymore. So I don't know if you're not going to get probably all the characters back in their original thing in another movie, unfortunately, which I would love to see if they could do that, but I don't think that's going to happen. But the way they wrapped it up, I thought was pretty cool. Okay, and I definitely enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend it. Especially if you're a fan of the first two movies, definitely go see this one to wrap it up. And again, you get all the emotions and everything that you want in this movie, and they wrapped it up to me in a nice, beautiful way. Even though, like I said, I would have loved to see him and Gamora get back together, Peter Quill, maybe have even remember because he went back to Earth to see his grandfather. That would have been nice if she decided to stay with him. That'd have been, but you kind of get the hint or that because especially the way it ended with her saying to him that she can see now why they were involved, why they were a couple, which I think was a big, especially from the beginning of the movie when she was basically telling, I don't remember, that's not me and all that stuff, despite him and then Chris Pratt saying, I fell in love with you and all this stuff, and then you came back a dick. Just their story, I think. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But I think this is the last version of the Guardians that we're going to get, at least for a while. Okay, but I enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend you definitely go check it out. And again, giving us Rocket's backstory, which was literally so heartbreaking, and it hit you in all the feels. Just really was really unexpected. And again, I loved those flashbacks. Those flashbacks, even though they were heartbreaking and everything, they were just, it gave us more of Rocket, and it gave us more in depth on Rocket, on his character, and of course why you could see these Guardians would go, go all out for their friend, because he was that important to them. Anyway, let me know what you think. If you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, what do you think of it? Do you like the way they wrapped it up? Do you think it was nice? Do you want to see them back together again? Even though I don't even think that's even possible anymore, to see this version of all of them together again. I don't think that's going to ever happen, but you never know. Stranger things have happened, and it's Hollywood. Feel free to leave comments down below. Links to my social media in the description box: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Also have a link to my other channel called Views and Opinions. We check that out as well. Also have a link down below to my Patreon. My Patreon's only $5 a month. I have tons of content on there, tons of unedited content on there. I got Marvel shows on there, DC TV shows. Got The Boys on there. Got the Star Wars TV shows, Obi-Wan Kenobi, The Book of Boba Fett, and The Mandalorian. I got movies on there as well. Only $5 a month. Check the link. And if you want to support me, also please give this video a thumbs up. It helps the channel, and I truly appreciate it. Also hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so you know when I upload new content to this channel. And this is Trey Pastor saying so long. Take care. Oh yeah, and I gave this movie an 8 out of 10 in my spoiler-free review, so 8 out of 10. Okay? Later.